All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for visiting Apple Scramble. We're going to have some fun today on this video. For those of you that are Detroit Pistons fans or from the city of Detroit and you're a big fan of sports in general in the state of Michigan. So a while ago, what I had a lot of time on my hands, I just came up with a scenario and I said, what if the Detroit Pistons, or what would the Detroit Pistons look like if they assembled their roster of homegrown talent and players with ties to the state of Michigan? That'd be players that played for colleges and universities in the state of Michigan, maybe players that were born in the state of Michigan, some that may have played high school basketball in the state of Michigan and whatnot. So just going to go over what they would look like if they were able to assemble a roster with some players with those ties to the state of Michigan. Some of them may be on different rosters. I think I did 3, maybe 4 different roster combinations. Just having fun here, and even the head coaches are going to have some ties to the state of Michigan. So I hope you enjoy it. And in the comment section, just comment on which roster you think will be the best, the coolest, and all that jazz. But I appreciate you checking this out. Hope you all are doing well. So let's get right now to this. So we're going to call this one simply Roster A, with skills and flashiness is what I dubbed this one. And we're going to look at the starting lineup here. And at the guard position, we have Gary Harris out of Michigan State University. We have at the other guard on the starting lineup, Booker. Believe he was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan. At the center, we had Draymond Green out of Saginaw, Michigan, and alumni of Michigan State University. At the forward positions, we have Duncan Robinson out of University of Michigan. And at the other forward position, we have Caris LeVert out of the University of Michigan. Now, as far as the bench players would be concerned, we'd have Wilson Chandler, former Mr. Basketball out of Benton Harbor, Michigan, Benton Harbor High School. We have at the guard position Trey Burke out of University of Michigan. At center, we have DJ Wilson, also out of University of Michigan. At the forward position, we have Kenny Goins. It's a shame that he's not in the NBA, but maybe he'll be a late bloomer and get his chance in the NBA. Out of Michigan State and also out of Warren Mott High School. Jordan Crawford, there's a name a lot of people forgot about. Last I saw, he was playing overseas. Actually saw him play a game against the Denver Nuggets a few years ago. He scored like 54 points. I mean, the guy was just killing it. But he was born out of Detroit, born in Detroit, Michigan. Sorry about that. At another center position, going alongside DJ Wilson, we had JaVale McGee. I don't know, I knew that he was born in Flint, Michigan. Guard position, we had Mccallum Jr. Another player I believe should be in the NBA, should have had a chance in the NBA, but I just think the league was probably oversaturated with point guards at that time. But he's out of Detroit Country Day and out of Detroit Mercy. On another note, with Detroit Mercy, there's a lot of guys that come through Detroit Mercy that can really ball, and it's just a shame we're not seeing more of the University of Detroit Mercy Titan players in the NBA. But we'll save that for another day. At 6'11", another forward we have is Jaren Jackson Jr. out of Michigan State University. Michigan State's putting a lot of players in the NBA lately. Another player some may have forgot about, maybe he fell up under the radar, would be forward Matt Costello out of Bay City Western High School and born in Auburn Hills, Michigan. And one of my favorite players, I'm not sure what's going on with him, but you remember John Teske out of University of Michigan. I'd have him as another center on the bench. Another forward would be Khaliq Spicer out of Robichaud High School, out of Detroit, Michigan. Have him as one of the forwards coming off the bench. And rounding out the list at guard, 6'5", 185 pounds. I know I didn't go over all the players' physical dimensions and whatnot, so just bear with me. Sometimes I may say it, sometimes I may not. But at the guard position, and it's a shame that this guy been in the league, spent all those years in the league and never played for the Detroit Pistons, will be Jamal Crawford. I would love to see him come back just to, retire. You know how they do honorary degrees and whatnot. I would love to see that happen for him. That would make me real happy. I don't know. What do you think? Detroit Pistons maybe just talk him out of retirement, just to sign him, even if he played one day or something like that, just to give him an opportunity for him to don the Detroit Pistons uniform and retire that jersey. I think that would be pretty cool for him. That's one player out of a few that I believe should have at least one time in their career donned the Detroit Pistons uniform. And as far as head coach is concerned, out of University of Michigan, I'll give Chris Webber a nod and have him lead this group. I think Chris Webber, it may be some years from now, but I do believe he's going to get an opportunity as a head coach in the NBA one day. Hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, I will have him leading this bunch. So that's roster A. And what we'll do is we'll go on over to roster B. And with roster B, we're going to look at the starting lineup of roster B. And we will have at the guard position, one of the guard positions, Monte Morris, former Mr. Basketball out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, also played at Flint Beecher High School. And another guard at 6'4", 220 pounds, Denzel Valentine. I believe he went to J.W. Sexton High School, and of course he's an alumni of Michigan State. That's one player I would have loved to see in the Pistons grab via free agency or some kind of way. I think he may have a few good years ahead of him. So if there's ever an open roster spot with the Detroit Pistons, I would love to see them, grab hold of him. And as at a forward position, at 6'8", 221 pounds, born in Flint, Michigan, will be Kyle Kuzma. We already know he won a title with LA and was one of the only few pieces left when they overhauled that roster. So yeah, you would have him as one of your forwards. Other forward, 6'6", 225, Miles Bridges, born in Flint, Michigan, alumni of Michigan State University. And rounding off this roster, here's a player that I believe, I don't know what's going on with him in the league, and I don't know if there's a reputation about him, but the guy did no wrong when he played for University of Michigan. That's a 6'11", 245 pounds, Maurice Watner. You heard his name called a lot when they were playing in the NCAA championship. And, the guy can ball. I just hope he winds up with the right organization that will give him the opportunity that he deserves in the league. And I would say that's another player up there with Denzel Valentine to me that I would love to see the Detroit Pistons pursue either in free agency or, maybe I don't want to say a trade because the Pistons seem pretty set now, and I like where they're going in the future. I do have my reservations about Dwayne Casey, but we'll see what's happening. I've been wrong before, but it looks like they got a pretty tight roster. But it wouldn't hurt if a roster spot came open to add Denzel Valentine or Maurice Watner to that roster. But that'd be a starting lineup on roster B. As far as the bench players are concerned, we have a guard as Muhammad Ali Abdul Rahman out of University of Michigan. Another player I believe deserves an opportunity in the NBA. At a forward position will be Gerald Blackshear Jr. out of Detroit, Michigan, out of Detroit Mercy. Pretty athletic guy. And another player out of out of Detroit Mercy would be Harrison Curry as a forward, power forward, 6'7", 230 pounds. Out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, also out of Detroit Mercy. And another player out of Michigan State that somehow got lost in the shuffle. Last time I saw him, he was playing for the T-Wolves. I think he's playing overseas now, but it's amazing that he's not in the league. But anyway, we'll give him some accolades, and we appreciate everything he did when he was with the Spartans, and that would be Adrian Payne at 6'10", 237 pounds. He will be a center off the bench. Moving on is Glenn Robinson III out of University of Michigan. He's been bouncing around the league a lot. And, man, it's really a shame that all those guys from that, what they were calling it, the Fab Five Part 2, I guess, or something like that, that those guys seem to struggle in the NBA. I hate to see that. I just think some of it is where they wound up being drafted and whatnot. Moving on at guard at 6 foot, 190 pounds, Keith Appling out of Michigan State and out of Pershing High School. Somehow he fell through the cracks. I don't know what's going on with all these players from Michigan State, just falling through the cracks and not, taking the lead by storm. But at any extent, we do have a few players from Michigan State that are in the league that are making some noise, but not what we expect. But yeah, that's one. Is Keith Appling. At the guard, Xavier Simpson out of University of Michigan. Here's a forward out of University of Detroit Mercy, 6'6", 241 pounds, Musial Jazima. If I'm saying his name wrong, I apologize. But he's a product out of Sterling Heights, Michigan, and out of University of Detroit Mercy. 6'1". This guy had a stint with the Detroit Pistons. I don't know where he's at now. Derek Walton Jr., 6'1", 189 pounds as the guard out of Chandler Park High School and University of Michigan. I don't know. He vanished. I don't know what's going on with him, but like I said, these guys from Michigan and Michigan State should have been taking the lead by storm, but I just think they just get drafted by the wrong teams and in this win now league, unless you come in on the caliber of a superstar already, then you're not going to make it in the league, But yeah, it's a shame for those guys from University of Michigan and University of Detroit Mercy and Michigan State. Moving on this list on roster B, at 6'11", 237 pounds at center, Deonta Davis out of Michigan State, another product out of Michigan State, another Mr. Basketball. Got a lot of Mr. Basketballs out of the state of Michigan that are, just kind of fizzled away in the league. Moving on, rounding out this roster B will be 6'7", 221 pounds, Ignas Berzingas out of University of Michigan. Last I saw, I think he was with the 76ers. I could be mistaken. But, yeah, just another player out of University of Michigan, along with Wachner and Trey Burke and several other ones that it's amazing that their careers didn't take off in the NBA. Some of them are still young players, so we still got a few years. And, we'll see. We'll have to see what happens. But like I said on the roster A, when I was going over roster A, you have some stars there. You got Duncan Robinson. Hopefully that wasn't a fluke that season. Hopefully he continues. I wish him the best. And Karis LeVert, he seemed to be doing fine. I think Brooklyn did him wrong. He carried that team when they were pretty much in the gutter. And that's how they treat him, is they, trade him off. But that's roster B, and head coach will be Kenyon Martin. I don't know if you guys know this, but he has some ties from the state of Michigan as well. I believe he was born there in the state of Michigan. And hopefully his son turns it up and turns into something special in the league as well. I love Kenyon Martin as a player. He was very, 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 very entertaining. He was one of those emotional players like Dennis Rodman. I love to see him when he was in the league. I love to see him. So wish his son the best in his NBA endeavors. Moving on to roster C. And this particular roster right here, I think this one will be, it has more of a championship pedigree mentality. I mean, the players on this roster right here, I mean, wow. That's all I can say is anyway, let's get to it. So starting with the starting lineup would be 6'4", 210 pounds, Gary Harris Jr. out of Michigan State. Great player. I mean, great player. I still think we have a lot more of him to see. And basically I'm saying we haven't seen the best of him just yet. So Gary Harris and guard, another guard, 6'5", 206, Devin Booker. Said before he was born in Grand Rapids. That's a heck of a backcourt right there. Moving on to the front court, you have 6'8", 221, Kyle Kuzma. Once again, he was born in Flint, Michigan. And at the other forward, you have Karis LeVert out of University of Michigan at 6'7", 204. And center, like I said, some of these players may appear on duplicate rosters in this video. You got Draymond Green out of Michigan State, of course. Moving on to the bench, you have guard Monte Morris out of Grand Rapids and Flint Beecher High School. Center JaVale McGee, also out of Flint, Michigan. Duncan Robinson. This is a heck of a roster here. 6'8", 210 pounds, of course, out of University of Michigan. Here's a player that fell up under the radar. He was making some noise, but I haven't been hearing too much about him, and that's Bren Forbes out of Michigan State and out of Lansing, Michigan, born in Lansing, Michigan, at a guard, 6'2", 205. And player, once again, I'm high on is Denzel Valentine. I hope he gets what's due to him in the NBA. He's out of Michigan State, of course. And forward, Wilson Chandler, Flint Beecher High School, Mr. Back, out of the state of Michigan at 6'8", 235. I'm not sure if he's still playing in the league or not. He has some injuries going on, so I don't know what's going on with him, but he was a beast when he was playing in the league. At the center, 6'11", 245, Maurice Watner, University of Michigan, another player I'm high on. I hope that his day comes in the NBA where he's recognized for the skill set that he has as a big man, and maybe a long shot, but I'm hoping to see him in the All-Star game one day. You know, it's, like I said before, it just depends on where these guys wind up, and you know, if these coaches give them a chance to play or not. That's what you see a lot of times when you get the players that's transferring from one university to the next. You know, because they're sitting at the end of the bench and feel like they're never going to get their day in the spotlight. So, and for Watner, I hope that day comes for him. Moving on is 6'1", 175 pounds, Trey Burke out of University of Michigan. What was cool with him was up in Salt Lake City, they had a big mural of him when he was drafted by, I believe it was by the Utah Jazz, but they had this big mural of him on the side of the stadium, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see that. But moving on, at 6'6", 205, Tim Hardaway Jr. out of University of Michigan, of course, and he's balling. He's had his moments in the league. So out of all those players on that team from University of Michigan when he was there, he seems to be the one that's having the most success. So hats off to him. At 6'6", 225 pounds as a forward, got Miles Bridges out of Michigan State, another product from Michigan State, and also born in Flint, Michigan. At 6'11", 242 pounds, you got a forward in Jaren Jackson Jr., another product of Michigan State Spartans. And rounding out this particular roster is, once again, a player that I think deserves to be an honorary Piston and have his jersey retired, because he's proved that players that get up there in age can still ball. And no one has a crossover as dangerous as him. And that's Jamal Crawford, once again, out of University of Michigan. Head coach, Shane Battier, professional. He played for Michigan State. And I've dubbed this roster as a super team. So, I may be getting carried away with it. But looking at that starting lineup, how can you argue? And moving on. D, this is, I call this one a future contender. A lot of these guys are young and still developing their game set. And like I said, some of these players may be repeated and carried over for some of the other rosters. And a few of these names on here you may not have heard of. And but to any extent, let's get going with this one. On roster D, as far as the starters are concerned, it's your pick. I really didn't go into detail as far as starters and whatnot on this roster. I just called this one like future contender. But anyway, let's get going with it. At guard, we got 6'1", 185 pounds, out of University of Michigan. We got Jaren Simmons. At another guard at 6'5", 195 pounds. Got Jordan Poole out of University of Michigan. I don't know what's going on with him. Last I saw, he was with the Warriors, and I can't remember if he was with the Lakers or not. But he's another one of those young kids out of University of Michigan. That seemed to get lost in the shuffle in the NBA. Forward, 6'11", 245, Jaren Jackson Jr., once again out of Michigan State. Another product out of Michigan State at 6'6", 225 is Miles Bridges. And forward, 6'7", 221, Ignas Brazdeikis, University of Michigan. These guys, I know I keep saying the same thing over and over, but these guys from University of Michigan, it's just hard to believe that they just got in the NBA and fizzled, or got lost in the shuffle. Same thing with a lot of the guys from North Carolina as well. But we're going to keep this one focused on Michigan players. Duncan Robinson at a forward position, 6'8", 210 pounds, out of University of Michigan. Once again, you got Wachner at 6'11", 245 pounds, out of University of Michigan. And another tough player, I mentioned him before on another roster out of Warren Mott High School in Michigan State, Kenny Goins. Got lost in the shuffle some kind of way. I think he played on one of the NBA teams during the summer league, but I don't think that panned out to anything. So hopefully he surfaces in again in the NBA and is given a shot. Next is forward, 6'8", 220 pounds, out of University of Michigan, out of Hudson, Michigan, is Brent Hibbitz. Don't know where he's at. Once again, the mystery continues about the vanishing players when it comes to the NBA, out of University of Michigan. 6'9", 210-pound forward, out of Detroit, Michigan, out of Robichaud High School. Very explosive player. You can look him up. He used to play for Kent State. But pretty big guy. Hopefully he gets his shot in the NBA. Another player, center, 7'1", 265 pounds, John Teske, out of University of Michigan. I mean, seems like he should be a beast in the league. Don't know what's going on with him. 6 foot, 190-pound guard, Xavier Simpson, out of University of Michigan. I'm thinking, if it serves me correct, my memory serves me correct, I think he got drafted by the Los Angeles. No, that wasn't him. I was gonna say he got drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. I could be wrong. I get him and Cassius Winston mixed up all the time. Anyway, continuing on, another player born in Detroit, Michigan, out of University of Detroit Mercy, at 6'1", 174-pound guard Josh Mcfarley. 6'6", 241-pound forward Musiel Gazima, out of Sterling Heights. I think they used to call it Strong Heights, and University of Detroit Mercy. Another player out of University of Detroit Mercy, and this was a sleeper here that, look for his name to come up somewhere in the future, maybe in a couple years. But at 6'8", 206 pounds, Cole Young, out of University of Detroit Mercy, he's another beast. Look to hear some things about him in the future. Next player is DJ Wilson out of University of Michigan. I really love this guy. Last I saw, he was with Milwaukee, but Giannis was there, so I think that affected a lot of his playing time. I remember he was getting garbage time and whatnot in the playoffs and things, but hopefully he can get with a organization that gives him a chance. Hopefully all these guys, especially from the University of Michigan that were on these teams that were making it to the NCAA tournament, Final Four, Elite Eight, national championship game. Hopefully they get a shot in the NBA, a true shot, and hopefully they get with a franchise that'll give them that opportunity. It's just such a shame. I know there's a lot of guys that come through the league, but it's such a shame that you get these teams like Michigan and North Carolina, and they do real great when it comes to the college basketball, but for some reason when they get in the pros, minus one or two players, they just fizzle away, and hopefully that changes. Anyway, moving on here, last player on this roster is 6'1", 189 pounds, Derek Walton Jr., guard out of University of Michigan. It was pretty cool to see him in the Detroit Pistons uniform. Wow, finally we got one of the guys from our own backyard on our team. So anyway, that rounds out that roster. As far as the head coaches are concerned, I had a couple names that I tossed up. Jalen Rose and Dan Marley. Both of those guys are gritty playing guys, and for them to lead that young franchise like that would be pretty cool. But I think that's the end of it, and thanks for listening. I had to put this did this video on the audio on here in two different parts, so I'm trying to blend it together. But hats off to the Pistons. Like I said before, they seem to be getting it together. I love what Troy Weaver is doing with the franchise. The moves that he's making is putting this team in a position to be a force to be reckoned with in the Eastern Conference, and possibly in the NBA as a whole. I see them looking similar to the prototype that the Golden State Warriors set during their dynasty year. So hats off for them. Hopefully Dwayne Casey can get a grip on things there, and get this team moving in the right direction. But at any extent, appreciate you guys listening to me. Check other stuff here. And you take care of yourself. Thanks. Bye.